Yeah, but how are you going to do all your touchy on that thing?
Hello and welcome to episode number 69, dude.
Wow, magic number. Now, is Elon Musk sponsoring us or what?
Yeah, I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, today it's a Dale in Australia.
Oh.
It'll be a short donation segment.
It's tomorrow for them already, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think so.
Yeah.
He would think he could let us know what's going on before it happens so that way we could be prepared.
You would think so.
Do a little stock manipulation.
Hey, speaking of tomorrow, so last night I updated the BIOS on the motherboard.
That is always a fun thing to do.
So just FYI, if something breaks, that's what's to blame.
If something breaks when? Today?
While we're recording.
If something goes poof?
Yeah, because, it's a new BIOS, theoretically better than the old BIOS.
I've never, again, I'm going to really hard knock, but now this is an Apple device or is this a,
no, Apple devices don't have BIOS.
I was going to say that you thought you were using the Mac Mini.
No, I still haven't moved the Motu to the Mac Mini yet. I'm debating whether I want to.
So I get it. And I'm pounding on the very poor press board desk, at least with Dell, which has been the desktops I've been using for the last 8 years or so. The BIOS has never crashed. I remember having issues back with an Asus motherboard back in the day.
Well, this is an Asus motherboard.
Well, there we go. You never know.
You never know. I mean, obviously, the BIOS these days is very different than the old days. You actually use a mouse in BIOS these days.
I know, it's crazy. You're how does this even work?
How does the mouse work before the computer even boots?
You don't want to know.
But it didn't recognize the BIOS the first time I tried it. Had to redo it a couple times, finally recognized it.
Oh, and see, that's also not good. When there's any issues with the updates, it's you kind of feel but this is the main thing. It's well, how do you recover from a bad BIOS flash? And sometimes you don't. Yeah.
Well, I think there's some jumpers you can hotwire.
Go in and zap it.
Zap the CMOS after doing the BIOS but either way, no, it seems to be running. I've had a little stability issues in some games that I was hoping this will fix.
See, you wanted to buy new spaceships.
Well, I'm going to be doing that during the show because
are you buying or selling?
At 11, I'm doing both. I'm arbitrage. Spaceship arbitrage. That's my business.
Comrade Gene, spaceships. Buy, sell. Everything must go.
Exactly.
But this is Unrelenting episode number 69.
Yeah. And right in the middle of the episode, the Invictus event starts.
What is that?
Which is on GMT time. Invictus in Star Citizen is a once a year military celebration, kind of like 4th of July.
And you're actually doing a show? I mean, I thought you would have been up all
right?
Night.
It's going to be amazing. We'll get to see whether Clean Feed runs while I'm running the game at the same time.
And I do notice every now and then you are hitting red in Clean Feed. So
am I?
You're still a little hot, Gene.
All right, let me look at it on my end.
And somebody's going to ISO that. Hey, Gene's really hot.
Believe me, no one's going to ISO that.
That may be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ISOing anything. Don't ISO anything. You do not have the rights to ISO anything from this show.
Yes, all copyrights are trademarked.
Yes, this is the Seinfeld of podcasting.
Well, exactly. And we don't want to get sued by somebody, so.
Well, certainly not Jerry. He's got
Jerry
more
has
lawyer money.
I know, right?
He's got more lawyer money than we do.
Oh, he does indeed. Well, I'm looking at the microphone itself, and that's looking pretty good. So I wonder if I'm pumping it up just a little bit too much in
your Motu.
Okay. I think I know why.
You're pumping the wattage.
Let me turn this. I'm plus 4 dog biscuits right now.
See, we're trying to get
let me go to plus
audio
2
quality.
dog biscuits.
That's what we're trying to bring here.
There we go. So now this should not be going in the red anymore.
We listen
Test. Yeah, we're good.
We listen to No Agenda and we're like, hey, we want to sound just as good, if not better. That's the goal. Especially for live shows.
We use better audio gear, but yes.
Well, you use the same microphone. Although now Adam is not using the Motu anymore.
He's not on the mic nor the Motu anymore. So
he didn't go back. I thought he went back to the Electro Voice. I think he dumped the square microphone that Beck uses, the Lewitt.
He did, that. But I thought he was using a Rodecaster's new mic now.
Really, I didn't hear that. Why would you use Rodecaster when you got the Electro Voice?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what he's doing day to day.
You should go over there and teach him about audio.
I've been meaning to go over there for a long time, like a year, and we just can't seem to get our dates together because when he was available, I had my out of state trips happening, which I need to do another one soon. I need to go down to Mexico.
I hear he put an app on your phone. So if you get within a mile of his house, all the lights turn off and all the shades drop. It's the cheat app.
It's made by Amazon. It's part of the Ring network. It's that you can designate somebody when they approach to automatically have the house be nobody's home.
Oh, that people would pay big money for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just make it look like nobody's there.
And
then don't let them walk into your front door with one of those. I still don't understand why people would put a lock on their main door that has the numeric keypads. Like, do not put a hackable device on your front door.
I mean, a key is a very hackable device. It's really easy to hack.
This is true. I mean, and when it comes down to it, most doors, I mean, I'm 6'6" with a size 15 shoe. A good kick will bring most doors in.
Well, yeah, I mean, that will obviously as well. But I don't know that a electronic button pushing device that doesn't have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi is
well, it's
less
got to
safe
have
than
Wi-Fi. But you're right about that. I mean, you are right. All these new devices, though, do indeed have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. If you take those things away, you're right. I don't think it's that bad. But
there's still an issue there. I mean, like, even if you have a Wi-Fi lock, which I have one of those, it's not, the batteries are dead, so don't get any ideas.
So it's a lot harder to get in the house.
Yeah, it's got Wi-Fi that doesn't work. And I've got another one that has Bluetooth, which also doesn't work because I don't swap batteries often enough. But for the Wi-Fi one, I think that it's, unless there's a known security hole in it,
which there always is, it seems,
which they would plug pretty well. But it's not like it's running an OS. It's running something super basic, like the commercial equivalent of an Arduino in the lock. Basically, it can connect on Wi-Fi, and then it's got a certificate, so it can only talk in an encrypted channel, and that's it. There's not much you can do there.
Well, the problem is people get lazy and they set it up for things like, oh, well, with the Bluetooth, when my phone pings it, it'll automatically open when I get within, 5 feet.
Yeah. I think mine had that option. I don't think I turned it on.
Because then all somebody needs to do is get that signal that your phone is putting out and then recreate it.
Yeah.
Exploits are fun.
Depends which side of the exploit you're on.
Well, this is true. This is true.
Speaking of exploits, what's going on with your girl?
With T-Swizzle?
Yeah, apparently she's dating a Nazi or something. Kind of super racist.
Which is something I follow zero of. I have never followed. I couldn't even tell you. I mean, besides, I think she dated Jake Gyllenhaal at some point. Otherwise, I couldn't tell you any of her other boyfriends. If it's not me, I don't care.
I see. That's how that goes. Okay.
Kind of where I'm on the list. And I don't know. I mean, it's funny watching the Taylor Swift fans, because I'm part of a few Taylor Swift Facebook groups on the merchandising side.
I bet you are.
And there are people that just lose their minds. And it's funny. It's like, why are you worried about who somebody else is dating? I mean, I guess this is not something that's new. This is all a voyeuristic thing going on in our society. It's like, I don't know why anybody cares who your favorite rock stars, actors, actresses are dating. I just never understood the reason behind that, why anybody would care.
People like drama. They like, following people's personal lives.
I guess. I saw some of the things like, the funniest thing were the people that are totally sure that Taylor Swift is a lesbian, which maybe she is. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is, all of a sudden, this is why she's jumping from the one guy into the other guy immediately. And it's like, again,
she's been married for a decade now to a woman.
That could be. I've never seen the marriage certificate, but it wouldn't necessarily
you don't care.
Me.
I'm not surprised you haven't seen it because you're not following that stuff.
It's just in the Russian underground. Is that where I should be watching these things? I'm sure there's good information out there somewhere, but it just does not interest me.
Just go to yandex.ru and do a search.
Okay. I'll find everything I need to know right there.
Uh-huh.
Perfect. The Russian information is the best information.
Yes. It's the only information that's allowed.
Or the Chinese information, you mix those two together.
Well, the Chinese information you can read in American newspapers. That's not that hard.
But with the T-Swizzle, the prices on her stuff not coming down, there were people hoping, I think. Like, oh, wow, she's dating a Nazi. Would you like to sell me that for like half the price now? Because
exactly.
Nobody wants to. I saw a guy on, again, maybe misgendering on eBay with, at one point back, maybe, I'm guessing a decade ago, maybe 10 years ago or so, Peter Max came out.
I remember.
Yeah, with Taylor Swift, with 3 different posters that they released, lithographs, they called them, but they're basically glorified posters, as most lithographs are.
They're expensive posters.
Yes. And that was the one year for Christmas. My mother-in-law bought me one, and it was the only thing I got from her that year because I think it was like $250
for a lithograph. Holy fuck!
Yeah, and it's like like 20 inches by 20 inches.
Okay, well, it's decent size anyway.
And it was under 300. It could have been anywhere if I'm remembering
Peter
right.
Max's stuff.
Yeah, he does really cool stuff, and it was between like $150, $200, and so I only got one of the 3. Well, these things are going for $5,000 to $8,000 with regularity now.
For the lithograph.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
I saw one of the...
how limited was the run?
I'm not even sure they said how many hundreds or thousands were made, but I ran across one of these places, and I know these places are scams, and they always have been, that sell like the autographed sports memorabilia. We used to have one in the mall here when malls were still a thing. That, hey, okay, if you want to buy a Derek Jeter autograph, on the free market, if you go to a card show, you go to somebody direct, a collector, you could buy it for $200. Well, of course, then it's $1,000 at one of these places. They had the lithograph that I've got for $16,000, and they were like, stock is low. I'm like, holy crap, people are crazy. Because I was looking for a matching one. I don't need them because they released them in autographed and non-autographed versions. The autographed versions had Taylor's autograph and Peter Max that were hand signed. So, of course, those are the ones that are going for big bucks. But there's like an asshole on eBay now who's got one listed for $2,000. Oh, price to sell. And I look at it and it's like, it's not autographed. Although he's listed it in the autographed section of eBay. And it's listed as autograph rock and roll or something like that, original autograph for $2,000. And I messaged him like, it's not autographed. And it has not been taken down. And I'm wondering, it's like, you do realize, I said to my wife, I'm like, if I just had, an extra, if I was Elon Musk, if I had enough money sitting in the bank, I would just harass this guy and order it, get it, and then immediately go, not autographed. eBay will give me my money back and you will have to have it shipped back to your house yourself. Because you are lying, you freaking scammer.
Can't trust the scammers.
No. So I'm going to keep looking for one. I don't need it to be autographed. The wife wanted one because we've got it up now on the wall, nicely framed. And it's like, well, the other little area, because that's
another scam.
I know. Having
Framing
a wife
is 80% profit margin.
What is?
Framing.
Oh, there's no question about it.
Yeah. Oh, you thought I was talking about marriage?
Yeah,
no, I'm talking about framing.
Well, they're both a scam. Professionally framed, and yeah. And then it's, and I know it's because all these framers know they're the only things in town, unless you're able to do it yourself, which you were able to.
Yeah. I mean, I still have probably $1,000 worth of framing supplies.
Well, and that's like nothing because it's, do you want the regular glass?
Well, no. You misunderstand. $1,000 of framing supplies is $10,000 worth of framed pictures.
Right. Right. Your retail, that's, you're talking wholesale.
10 to 1, buddy.
And we put the lithograph up on the one side of the fireplace because we got, it's an older house, so it's a brick fireplace. And then there's a wall to the left and a wall to the right. And on the left now, we have this that is framed on the wall. And my wife's like, well, it'd be nice to have one on the other side too, to even it out. It's like, yeah, if I had, again, unlimited funds, I'm sure I'd buy one of the $5,000 autographed ones. But at this point, I'd be happy just finding an unautographed one for a couple $100 and at least even those things out. But the scammers are everywhere. And it's hilarious to me what people think will defeat the scammers. The people in the Taylor Swift groups, and I've seen this in other groups that, sports autographs and all that, make them write today's date and their name or your name on a piece of paper and put it on top of the item.
Exactly.
And I'm like, have you fuckers never heard of Photoshop?
Go and get a picture of today's newspaper. Hold it up. But they don't print those anymore.
But have you heard of Photoshop? I can put anything on a piece of paper. I can grab anybody else's photo. Now, the best thing you could do if you're spending money would be to make somebody get on a video call, which still is not perfect. But if you're doing like a FaceTime call or a Zoom call and they can prove at least that they have the merchandise, I don't know how you make that how that makes it that they will assuredly send you the merchandise. But
it's so weird. And here I am selling electronic spaceships.
Yes, virtual spaceships.
People are sending me money.
I know. Well, I mean, there was a guy, again, for my dad, because he had these tickets and stuff from the Michael Jordan era, the Jordan baseball era. I had him sitting on eBay for a long time. And it's like, I don't care. I'm just letting him sit there. And a guy came to me and he's like, we can go off of eBay because, eBay charges a lot of money. And he's a guy that's been selling on eBay for a long time. And at first I'm like, I didn't really understand him all that well. Now I realize from looking him up, he's a 70-year-old dude. And he wrote, he's kind of like the Gene Nevtuliev back in the 90s. He had a book published on Jordan collectibles. So once I saw those names match, it's like I felt a lot more
trusting.
Yes. I don't know why he did, because he sent quite a bit of money via PayPal, not goods and services, via the PayPal friends and family, which, as anybody knows, once you do that, you're done. Yeah, it doesn't come back.
No refund. So the one thing though is, I don't know if this has been the case for a while, but I just realized recently, because I had to send somebody money, PayPal will not even give you the selection of whether something is personal or whether it's business for the business accounts.
And not even, I think it may be if you've even, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think it could also be if you've sent somebody something goods and services in the past. It may
for sure if it's an account tied to eBay.
Right. I would assume that because I noticed that with my buddy that runs the record shop. If I pay him on PayPal, it will not let me choose friends and family to save him the...
Exactly. Because luckily I was smart enough to set up both accounts like a decade ago. So I've kept one purely for friends and family and one for anything business related. And that way I can still do the free money transfer. But they're really trying to get out of that whole thing. Like, they don't want to be in that business anymore. They just want to be a credit card processor.
That's where the easy money is, I guess.
Well, and it sounds like Musk wants to take over that business on Twitter.
Well, he's
he wants
trying
you
to
send
monetize
money,
it,
friends and family through Twitter.
which makes sense. I mean, that has been the thought process, is that he wants to monetize Twitter, but not in the way.
Yeah.
Pre-Musk, Twitter was thinking advertising. Now he
Right.
is, I think, thinking, well, a bank with messages involved.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a horrible idea.
Which, I mean, it's not all that different than sending Satoshis with a message.
No, and the fact that he is opening up this platform for people to make money, and I don't know, I mean, Tucker Carlson, that's a no-brainer. I don't know about people, though, like our buddy CSB. Yeah. And I'm running into a bunch more people that are like, well, subscribe to me for $3 a month.
Yeah.
Who's doing that? And it depends on what content it is, but how do you know what the content is?
Exactly. It depends on what content it is.
Uh-huh.
So since I had to restart my account, I'm not up to 1,000 people on Twitter yet, but apparently that's all it takes is anybody that's over 1,000 people and is a Twitter Blue, you can now start to put up videos and charge money.
Which I can do now. I attached the correct phone number.
Okay, there you go.
They liked it. I don't know why the open AI fucktards wouldn't take the phone number. And it's like, never got anything back from their support. And that's been a couple of weeks now. It's like, they've had 1 million people register. Yeah.
I mean, they like anything they can do to refuse a new person.
They're like, we don't want you. Right.
Good. Yeah.
And I mean, I've noticed with all of this stuff, and I'm assuming it'll come down at some point, but the cost to use this AI, they're finally realizing you need to charge people.
It's all $20 a month. Almost every AI based service is $20 a month right now.
But there are limits to that. Meaning it's like, I've got a bunch of text that I want to convert to, if you're using the AI voice synthesis.
Yeah.
You can't do like 20 books worth in a month. It's like, you've got.
I mean, you could. It costs you a lot more than $20, but yeah.
Right. You're right. That's it. You just need to keep adding more. And I was really interested when it comes to the fiction writing, pseudo writing.
You don't need to do that, dude. You can, if all you're trying to do is voice, just use the free one that Google has.
Right. I mean,
or Microsoft. Microsoft got one too, though.
Yes. Oh no, there are definitely situations and software out there that can do very similar things.
And I've just been doing Siri reading books for like a decade now.
That's hilarious.
Any actual book I buy on Kindle is just read by Siri.
Which again, that's all built in. One place,
every Apple device.
Yes, but to be fair, if you're putting something together for a commercial release,
if you want to have something read that you're going to sell,
and the voices, it's not the voice themselves, even though the voices sound good. Siri sounds very realistic. My Siri in my Apple Watch, I always want to call it an iWatch, but I converted it to sound Irish, so that's a little bit more soothing.
I use the British one.
See, it's like we don't want the freaking American accent.
Well, no, because I grew up watching BBC television, and David Attenborough and all these guys, and watching all the cool animals that people are all scared of for some reason. I love putting animal videos, as a total tangent, into No Agenda Social, because no matter what kind of animal video I upload or I put a link to, there's bound to be at least one person, and often more than one, that's like, oh, just wait, he'll get killed. Like, literally everybody thinks that the person in the video is going to get killed by the animal.
So this is
like, you people have never been outdoors, have you?
Not without highly trained snipers with them.
I mean, dude, if you raise a baby lion from scratch, it's basically a house cat.
Until it's really hungry one day.
Scientifically speaking.
Yeah. But what the AI brings to the reading of the material, and which is getting better, is actually bringing the somewhat correct inflections when it's excited or if it's a question.
And raising and lowering pitch and accelerating and slowing down speech. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound completely like the
monotonous,
the robotic voice that you get quite a lot.
Well, that was the problem in I mean, we've had voice synthesis since the 80s, literally. The original voice sounded kind of like, what's his face? The physicist guy.
Exactly, like the guy in the wheelchair that died.
This is I can't remember my name. Yeah, that guy. And
Stephen Hawking.
Yes. Brilliant man. So it's been around, but it has been very monotonous because there was essentially they were coding what sound does a letter make, and then the next step was what sound does a letter make next to one other letter. And you really need to go well beyond that. I think the next iteration of that was actually a full dictionary's worth of words, so about 8,000 words properly pronounced, but then only one version of each word. And now with the AI, what you're getting is more similar to what humans communicate like, which is each word can have a multitude of pronunciations depending on how it's used and also just the temperament of the person at the time.
Right. Because if you notice, you can't just go, if you've recorded a podcast and you messed up one word, you can't just go grab yourself saying that word and put it in there and it sounds seamless.
Yeah, well, you can kind of do that with the script.
Well, yeah,
by having the script read. Yeah, it'll have the AI recreate the word for you.
And you are hitting a little bit into the red again. You are just hot today, Gene.
Fucking Christ. Okay, I'll drop it on my end.
You are just hot.
I'll just go down to like.
But I am really intrigued because I know I need to write the next great no agenda novel.
Oh, do you?
And I'm just guessing it would pay better than podcasting.
I'm not sure that's true.
I want to try and find out. There is an AI writing tool, which I don't know. When did you go from writing tool to just an AI that's writing everything for you? We're getting onto that line.
I think you just need to ask college students that question.
Yes. Well, yeah, because they're never going to write anything ever again.
There is an AI, I can't remember what it's called, that is you pay money for it, that is specifically tailored to writing college essays.
Oh, I could believe that.
Well, that's their market. That's what they sell to. It's like, look, here's what the laws are. Here's what you need to know. We're just giving it to you. You do whatever you want with it.
Well, and that's what a lot of these services are, is they're taking Chat GPT and they're putting a skin on it. They're doing their prompts and and I don't even understand how that works, but finagle it.
I mean, there's a lot more than just Chat GPT at this point.
Yes.
That's just the biggest, most well-known one out there. And certainly one that's getting updated very regularly. So
yeah, I've been playing with Claude, which is fantastic and still free from Anthropic. But there is a service that's pseudo-right. I covered it on Random Thoughts a while ago, and we've talked about it. They have just introduced a brand new interface, which watching a few of the demos is absolutely amazing because there's a couple of boxes. One is labeled something like brain dump. So any ideas you have for the story, you just put it in there. They don't have to be organized. It could be setting, it could be plot points, it could be characters. Then you tell it what kind of style to write in, and it just starts generating the outline for you. Of course, you can go in and edit it. And then there's a box for characters. So you go in and you give it the characters that you want in the story with their descriptions, and it will add characters if it thinks it needs it. And it kind of goes step by step in building the story, because there's one thing the AIs are not yet quite good at, and that is writing anything long form, because their memory is very short. The ability to write something long, well, it'll forget. It won't have the continuity because it doesn't know what happened in the previous chapter. So then this thing gets broken down into chapters, and in each chapter you have to give it the beats, which means, and they're like, well, every 2 beats are processed together, so you have to again make sure there's a connection, and you can't assume that way down the line it's going to remember what happened before, so you have to be very specific. The ability for this to give you a basic story, fantastic, but where it kind of fails for me is their $25 a month plan, which is paid annually, which, as you said, everything costs about that. Gives you 90,000 words a month.
Yeah.
In this new thing, they are kind of touting the fact that, well, you can have a whole first draft in 2 days. It's like, okay, so you're then done with your 90,000 words in 2 days. And they offer additional word packs, but they don't mention what that costs. I'm like, before I'm going to subscribe to something, you need to tell me if I want to buy an extra 100,000 words, what's that going to be? $20, $50, $1,000? What do you got?
Yeah.
It's always concerning when they don't release
I wouldn't use anything for a book today. We're advancing things so quickly that literally the issue you brought up, which is if it writes more than a few pages, it starts to forget what it wrote previously.
Correct. Yeah.
That'll be solved in less than a year.
Oh, no, well,
it's not even a solution thing. It'll just go from, remembering 15, 20 pages to remembering 15, 20,000 pages.
Right. And that was the latest thing with this Claude. It can remember like 70,000 words, which is pretty much novel length.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think 50K is starting to be a novel. So it's only going to keep improving. That's the one thing that I have to wholeheartedly agree with the YouTubers out there that talk about AI, which is a fairly consistent theme, is where we are with this is literally like the first year of web pages.
Oh God!
What
remember
you
those?
see in that, I remember very distinctly. Yes, I remember seeing those in Netscape, right?
Yes.
Netscape Navigator.
Oh yeah.
I think that was the first one. And like I told this before, one of my pastimes, if you will, during that point in time, which were in the early 90s, was to go to the Netscape homepage, which would have a list, literally a text list of all the new websites on the internet for that day.
Good times.
And it would usually be about 15, 20. And I could literally go and check out every single new website that came online.
There was a point you had read everything on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been to the entire internet back in the early 90s. Like, that's how connected I was. And obviously, as things started accelerating, it was non-linear. It was very much logarithmic. So things got to a ridiculous pace pretty quickly. But there are probably more YouTube videos uploaded in 1 second today than there were the number of pages on the internet back in probably 91.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of content.
Yeah. And some of that stuff was very boring and very, researchy. But there was certainly some of the earliest stuff I remember was Star Trek related. Because
the fan fiction was happening.
It doesn't matter how big of a group you have. There's always going to be at least one Star Trek nerd.
Well, at least, yes.
At least.
Or that's a Star Wars, and then they fight.
Less so on the Star Wars. I think now that Disney's got it and they've completely
ruined it,
massacred it into God knows what, it's probably going to have a lot more people growing up with it, though. But back then, like, Star Trek was, it was current because the next generation. It was historical because the original Trek. And there hasn't been a Star Wars movie in the after the Return of the Jedi.
Oh, right. That was the
last
done.
Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So Star Wars was not really that popular back then.
Well, it should have stopped there.
It did stop there. That's as far as I'm concerned, that is the canon. The canon is 3 movies, the way it was written and intended, and not the reshoots of digital changes with the guns and everything that Lucas did later either.
But the interesting thing with this writing, and I didn't know that Justine Bateman, Mallory from Family Ties.
I really liked her.
Back on Family Ties? in that
Like
era.
when she was 30 and under. Yes.
Right, when she was cute.
She had an attitude and she was attractive.
She was adorable. She is now a
Wouldn't say
computer
that.
scientist.
What?
Yeah, I had no idea.
She is not.
Look it up, dude. Go to your Russian misinformation site and type her name in.
RussianMisinformation.com.
Right. Oh, dude, if that's not a real website, it has to be before the show's over.
Uh-huh.
But she
She's
was
a writer, director, producer, and author.
it was listed that she was like some kind of academic
I
because
think you're wrong.
she was the one that is talking about, because of this whole writers thing, she's one of the voices saying, we really have to fight this using AI, because once the studios are allowed to use AI, then they're going to have no use for writers. And it's an interesting conundrum to me because, as you say, we know that school kids are using AI. And the
Holy
teachers,
shit, she looks old.
she is old.
She looks like a grandmother.
She may be. I mean, she's your age. So
I'm looking at her. No, she's younger than me. Holy shit.
You don't know who is using the AI. So if the studios are dumb enough, and sorry, writers, I'm on the studio side on this one, because if the studios are dumb enough to be like, well, we will sign a pledge that we will never use AI to produce
That's such
content.
bullshit.
Well, how do you know that the people you're paying to write aren't just going into AI? And
They are. Absolutely,
Right.
they are. Yeah.
so it's like, this is a scam, man. But her point was the exact one I made. I think it was on this show. Maybe it was on Grumpy Old Ben's. It's hard to tell. You and Ben Rose sound so much alike. That she's like, well, you could take all of the Family Ties episodes and teach an AI and then just say, spit out a new season, and it can. It's like, well, yes, that's going to happen. I mean, it may not be perfect right now, but I don't think we are that far down the line. Yeah, I saw that picture earlier. She does not look like the same person.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of tell in the eyes.
That's his hair. The hair is the same.
Oh, yeah. Which again.
And the big forehead and the big lips. But yeah, she looks like a grandma.
Well,
I mean,
you're old enough to be a grandma.
So. I'm almost old enough to be a great grandma.
Great.
Uh-huh.
It says
Super.
Now, this is Yahoo News, which again, I don't know how much stake you put into Yahoo News. Where does it say? Justine Bateman wrote, where does it give her? Best known for playing Mallory Keaton on the 1980s sitcom Family Ties, has a degree in computer science and digital media management from UCLA.
Okay, first of all, from UCLA.
Well, that just totally discounts. You're like, screw UCLA.
Yeah. Okay, so UCLA degree in computer science is like how to use computers on movie sets.
That's that's how you get the piece of paper there.
Yeah, that is not a computer science school.
I mean, I'm not saying it's MIT or anything.
Look, I'm sure she got a degree in computer science by, reading books and answering questions and stuff. But I'm looking at her bio. There's nothing here that says she's actually done anything with computer science. She was an actress.
I didn't say she did anything with
actresses that eventually move on to something. She started producing and directing.
But now she has a computer science degree, and she's the voice of the writing people, I guess. Fighting against the man.
People.
Yeah. The writers in the strike.
Yeah.
They don't want people using AI. It's like, well, again, this is like when motorized vehicles came out and the people that didn't want to stop using horses and buggies. Like, you can't stop it. There's no going back. The ability is there. And while at this point you still need human interaction, because the AI written stories, if you let it go on for any length of time, you'll be able to tell it's an AI created story. But what the AI seems to do fairly well right now is little things in little chunks, which means, you want it to write the dialogue for a, conversation that people are having in a book or a television show. Mm-hmm. It can get you 90% of the way there.
It's not good at that. it's much better at is organizing a multitude of characters and names and plot points. Like ultimately, it's a database.
Correct.
So the
and then
AI
you go in
is
and add
all it
your
is
touch
a
to
front end to a database. Like you could do AI without AI by writing your own SQL queries into a massive database with. I mean, I'm super simplifying it. Obviously, there's a little more to it than that, but I also don't want to pretend that AI is some magic fucking thing, which it's not. Expert systems been around forever. I remember writing an expert system back in the early 90s because guess what? That's what I was doing back then. I was programming. And obviously the complexity and everything else has improved greatly, but it's not a leap forward. This is a gradual evolution. Unlike quantum computing, which is absolutely a skip and a leap and a jump, and we're at the very early stage of that. The whole AI phenomenon that's happening right now, and it's definitely catching steam finally, which is great. I'm super happy about that. AI needs to replace humans sooner the better, but at the same time, it's not like it didn't come out of the blue. It's not some magic thing. Which
because
I think the way a lot
does.
of people treat it.
Yeah, nothing's immediately that it's become more usable for the average person because they put this is the same thing when you originally got we're old. So when we originally got computers, kids, you would turn these things on, whether it was my TRS-80 color computer or my Apple IIe, which granted was a much more powerful computer than the Trash 80. Yeah. But you know what happened when you plugged in an Apple IIe and turned it on? You got a blank screen and a prompt, right?
Yeah. I just got one of those yesterday. So.
It's like, that's it. This was no big photo, glorious background with all of your icons and all of your options.
Right. Well, and to be fair, there are literally millions of Linux nerds that enjoy the prompt more than the graphics and prefer to have their computers come up with a prompt when they're downloading.
Because if you know what you're doing, you can do things much more efficiently with just a prompt.
I have yet to see someone play games well.
Well, you can't play games, but for the things most people use computers for, and then most people will make the argument, well, it's way better to play games on a device that was created only to play games like your Xbox.
Like my computer.
Right, exactly. Well, no, because your computer...
The problem with the Xbox, I tried it. I really did. I used to play PC games back in the day. I had a $10,000 gaming computer back when I was playing competitively. And this is like early 2000s.
Did you have gaming gloves? So you were...
No, I did not have gaming gloves. But my computer, the cooling system for my computer was twice as big as the computer. And it refrigerated the CPU running temperature to right around freezing.
You were one of those guys.
Yeah. It was doing very well in the speed competitions, but I didn't get like first or second place anywhere, but it was getting pretty damn close. It was a serious hobby that my wife absolutely hated me having.
Well, it costs a lot more money than most hobbies.
Yeah. I mean, hookers cost a lot too.
Well, and again, if they don't take PayPal friends and family, Gene is not dealing with them.
Friends and family.
If you can't pay your hookers with friends and family, you're not doing it right.
That's right. But it was, it was fun. I enjoyed it. And then eventually I just decided, okay, I need to move on from this stuff. And I kind of did. And I really stopped playing video games for a few years altogether. And then I kind of got a hankering for it, saw some ads or whatever, had friends who were playing, and thought, okay, I'm just going to go cheap. I don't need to spend 10 grand on the computer. So I just got an Xbox 360, I guess would have been the model back then.
Sure.
And started just doing that. And while it was fun, I kept thinking back. It's like, man, 10 years earlier, I was playing games that looked more beautiful than what I'm getting in this thing. And it just because, resolution and
Well, right. Well, for the longest
components.
time, those devices were only
it's like a $400
HD, right? They're HD.
Yeah.
They weren't ultra. They weren't 4K. They were most games were giving you 720p if I think you were pulling it off a PlayStation or Xbox.
And I was playing, like before that, I was playing 1600 by 1200. In fact, I still have two of those monitors sitting here looking at me. Neither one's been plugged in for over a decade, but they're too heavy to get rid of. And so they're just still screwed to my desk looking at me with a dead eye. But there are 16 by 1200 monitors in the 3:4 format size, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, then you could just stack all those together, too.
Two of them are one on top of the other. Yeah, they're stacked. But these were like nice $1,000 monitors back in the day. Anyway, so I played on the Xbox, then the Xbox One came out. I was like, oh, finally we're going to get better quality. Not really. It was a little bit better. It took them a while to kind of wind up. And then there was some game, I can't remember what it was, that I ran into that wasn't out on Xbox. It was only out on PlayStation and PC. And I'm like,
oh, yeah, those wars.
I don't really want to get into the PlayStation versus Xbox thing. I don't need both of them running here. And everything, no matter what the manufacturer is, they always make a PC version. So the PC is the unifier there. So I'm like, fine. Okay, I'm going to keep myself from spending money. I'm going to buy a gaming laptop so there's no opportunity to upgrade. See, that was my thought pattern. Because I remember from the old days, from the 2000s, I remember how much I was upgrading and where the money was spent all the time, constantly. And so I got myself a gaming laptop. And that worked. I mean, I wasn't even playing all that much. It was just occasionally, I think Far Cry was probably the biggest game that I enjoyed playing. And then I dated a chick that was a YouTube streamer or a Twitch streamer. And like, first of all, the idea of a girl gamer was weird for me because back when I played, there were no girls in gaming.
No, there were. You just didn't know.
No, there really weren't. No, in the early 2000s, there were no girls in gaming whatsoever. And it was, and I can tell this because when we were talking on voice to each other, there was not a single female voice for years. And now they have voice changers, so they can get around that, but not back then. Anyway, long story short, I had that PC for about a year, and I kept running into frustration over frame rates. So finally, I think it was either Christmas or my birthday, I decided to buy myself a gaming desktop, which would be quite a bit faster than the gaming laptop. Plus, the laptop ran at about 200 degrees. We could get super hot running games. So I got the desktop, and that was great for about a year. And then I got the upgrade bug. I started spending more money on upgrading that thing.
Yeah, because the problem, once you have a laptop, the upgrade is buy a new laptop.
Yeah. And that was what I wanted. I wanted to keep myself from being able to incrementally upgrade the damn thing. Because that way it'd be like, it's either I spend another $2,500 or I don't spend anything. And that was the preference. Well, it didn't last more than a year. So I ended up getting the desktop, upgraded that a little bit, then upgraded it some more. And then that lasted 2 years. And then I was like, well, shit, I think I got this game called Star Citizen, which just runs like 8 frames per second on this thing. I guess I need a new gaming computer. So I ended up buying a new desktop.
And this is where it started. And then you're like, the desktop costs nothing compared to the ships inside.
Well, that part of it's true too. But the desktop, so I bought I was up to $3,500 by this point in buying a desktop. And then within a year of buying the desktop, this last one, I replaced the motherboard, the memory, and the CPU, and the graphics card. And so I probably spent another $3,000 in it. And right now, I'm sitting at about 40 frames per second. I'm going, I'd really like to get over 60.
Yeah, at least.
Problem is, to get over 60, the video card is $1,600.
Do you need two like tied together too, or just
no? You
one?
just need one, but it's literally more than most laptops or desktops, just for the card.
Right.
And of course, if I'm going to bother getting the card, I should upgrade to the latest generation motherboard and CPU.
Well, yeah, if you're going to get a brand new GPU, baby, you got to get everything.
So yeah, I think the next one's going to be about $4,500.
Ned says you need a 4090. Is that an expensive
That's
card?
exactly what I'm talking about. That's a 4090. Yeah.
There you go. And I'm glad. I mean, I guess I'm kind of not glad that I've got shitty vision. And I'm glad
you don't have to worry about spending money.
I know. It's like I am not. If I had, I'm kind of worried because if the vision gets fixed now that I'm back into NASCAR, because I dropped NASCAR back in 2004. That's when I was up to that point. It was all NASCAR.
Yeah.
Then I went into baseball, which there's really no big simulator thing. But
no.
Back in the day, I had the Papyrus made the game with the motorized steering wheel and pedals. Yeah. If
I had those about 3 feet away on the floor.
See? And I know if my vision was back to where I would like it,
you're going to want to play them.
Not only that, but now that I've seen these $20,000-$30,000 rigs with all the monitors and the simulator that you sit in and the stuff.
Dude, I don't know if I sent one to you or not. There's a guy out of Canada that is retired at younger than us. And he has, for the last year, been testing all the pneumatic simulators out there.
Nice.
And so he's got like the penultimate simulator set up. And it's got, wraparound monitors.
You mean the ultimate? Because the penultimate would be the second to last.
Is that what it means?
Yes.
Oh, ultimate means second to last?
Yes.
Why do people use that then?
Because they don't know what the word means.
Well, I clearly don't, because I thought it meant like super ultimate. Well, he's got the super ultimate simulator.
That's better.
And it is, I want to say it's $45,000.
Damn. See, that would be sweet.
And it will do not just cars with, like, when you do rally racing in that thing, it'll move you about a foot up and down. Like every bump is a real level bump.
Now, I want the extra $5,000 pack that throws dirt and mud in your face.
Yeah, exactly. But he uses it mostly for airplanes and spaceships.
Oh, see, I could see that too.
And so, when you make that really high G turn, this thing just like throws you into an angle where you feel those G's.
Right.
It's pretty wild. And then like he had two of these things sitting next to each other. And so he could play with his dad. And he's had a bunch of people. He's had like actual military helicopter pilots come on and talk about just how accurate this thing is. Like it behaves exactly the way they would feel it in a real helicopter.
Which is
if I didn't send, I'll send you a copy of that guy's video. I'll have a link in the show notes inside the thing as well.
Well, in these
podcasting 2.0 notes.
Yes, the professional versions of this race car drivers are using now to save a lot of money because they don't actually have to go test on the tracks. They stick them in the simulator and you get 95% of the way there. I mean, it's not perfect.
I mean, that's how I learned to be a
spaceship
pilot.
Astronaut. Yeah.
A spaceship pilot.
I am Gene, astronaut.
Well, it's a great way to learn. Simulators really, and I remember even last time I talked to Adam and he was talking about, getting his simulator time for the airplane. It's like a simulator gets you a lot. I don't want to say it gets you to 90%, but it certainly gets you over 50% there because you know what can happen, you know what to look for, you know what you need to do when it does happen. All of that can be learned on a simulator. And if you're talking about spaceships, well, first of all, good luck doing it any other way than the simulator. But you
if
also
you had Bezos money.
Well, I'm pretty sure I would do exactly what Bezos did and build a penis rocket.
It's like, take off.
Check out my penis. It's pretty big, huh?
I mean, when you tell...
I mean, rocket. I meant my rocket. That's what I said.
When you tell unsuspecting women that you're an astronaut, are you an American astronaut or a Russian astronaut?
Do I say astronaut or cosmonaut?
I think you have to go cosmonaut. It's a lot harder for them to check your identity if you tell them you're in a top secret Russian program.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's the simulator gets you to realize what else you don't know. And that's an important part of learning anything new. And whether it's an airplane or spaceship or a boat or car. Like I have car mechanic simulator, and
I love that.
I'm reasonably handy. I prefer to have other people work on my vehicles, but when I was a kid, my dad gave me no choice and forced me to work on the family vehicles. Like I did all the oil changes. When shit broke, it'd be like, well, see if you go figure it out. And like I had to replace a few head gaskets in my day. So I understand what makes a car, at least an 80s car. I don't know much after that because I tended to use service after that. But up to an 80s car, I kind of know what the parts do.
These new cars, oh my God.
They have a lot of electronics, yeah.
Well, way too much electronics. And we had one of our cars that was sitting in the garage over the winter.
You have more than one car?
Yeah.
Why?
To drive.
What? But you're blind.
Hey, my license still says I'm fine.
Oh my God.
But we have two vehicles because really,
not to drive in Illinois.
just stay on the sidewalks, or maybe stay off the sidewalks is where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
But the battery had gone dead because it really wasn't driven over the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So the battery got replaced, and now it needs to go through the bullshit that the state does of, your emissions test. And it's like, okay, take it in. It fails.
Of course.
Because
you got to drive it for a while so the ECU can regenerate its proper cycles.
Yeah, and the question is, how much do you have to drive it?
I'd say 30, 40 miles minimum, but probably 100 miles would be best.
And I don't know if this car, because it's a Chevy Impala, I don't know if this one's any different, but the guy we take our cars to said those can take up to 700 miles.
I mean, he's not wrong. You're not going to gain anything after 700 miles. The car totally knows the routines, but you're probably 90% of the way there at 100 miles.
Well, it's a question of whether it will pass or not, because if
it'll
you need
pass
to go
after 100 miles.
I will see.
I'll bet your money it will.
I'm hoping, because otherwise that would be the third failure. Then I don't know what happens.
Give me the car.
Right. You can get to come pick it up and drive it around. And but I'm like, okay, if you tell me you can take up to 700 miles, it's like, well,
it's not. Well, that's called a CYA with an exclamation mark.
Maybe, but it's a car that's not driven. And even if my wife were to drive the car back and forth to work, that's 2 miles a day. So how do you just put how do you even put a few hundred miles onto a car?
You throw the husband in the passenger seat and you go for a nice drive.
Go for a Sunday drive. But isn't this the opposite of what the Green Initiative wants you to do? So in order to get my car's emissions to pass,
if
I
you
need
had
to
an
drive it
electric
around.
car, you wouldn't have to worry about any of this shit.
Right. They don't want us to drive the gas cars anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Drive it around for a few hundred miles and then bring it back. But wait, isn't that putting a lot of emissions into the air?
I drove.
And why can't they just do like they used to? I mean, I understand if the computer has the information, this is quicker for them. But why can't they do like they used to do and just put something on the fucking exhaust pipe for a minute and see if the car is passing the emissions test?
Oh, they do that here as well.
Well, they don't here, obviously, because it's like, be like, fuck you. The car's not being driven. The battery was replaced. Test it the old-fashioned way.
They've got the sensors, so that it's got a NOx sensor is probably what you're referring to, that it's measuring the amount of nitrous oxide coming out of the in the exhaust system that the sensor's picking up, and that sensor will then adjust the fuel and the air mixtures to try and minimize that to satisfy the bullshit regulations that we have.
Yes.
It's a similar. It's not identical, obviously, but it's similar to what the whole VW diesel engine kerfuffle was. Where they basically programmed into the car's ECU that when the car detects that it's stationary, but its gas pedal is pressed slightly, there's only one condition that happens in, and that's somebody testing the vehicle for emissions. And then they would automatically put the car into a super clean mode.
Nice.
Which kills about 30% of your horsepower.
But nobody notices.
You're not moving anyway because it doesn't matter because your wheels aren't spinning.
Right.
And then when you actually drive the car and your wheels are spinning, then it ignores all those parameters and actually runs the car to get the most bang for the buck.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And incidentally, the clean running engine is totally different cycle than an efficient running engine, which would be an Atkinson cycle, which is totally different than a powerful engine, which is what most cars used to be programmed for. So it's a triangle. Pick one. Which would you like? Power, cleanliness, or efficiency?
Yeah, power.
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson. So anyway, my point is, I'm not like a total, car nerd by any stretch. I would rely on people that are way more into cars and mechanics than I am, but I understand my way around parts enough. And so I've got Car Mechanic Simulator that I've probably spent a few hundred hours playing, where the cool thing is you get to diagnose cars that it's just like real life. So somebody drops off a car, it says it's making a weird sound. and there's some kind of a rattle or a knock, but I can't, it's on the left side. That's all I can tell you. And then you have to diagnose,
real life.
Figure out what could be causing that, replace it. If you can use used parts instead of new parts, you'll save some money. You'll make some extra money that way when you fix their car, because all they care about is having a car that's fixed, not having brand new parts necessarily.
So what is the best simulator game out there? Now, I downloaded one the other day.
There's so many that are good.
Well, I downloaded one that was like an airport simulator, and I spent about a half hour and then was still like, this thing sucks because it's not intuitive on what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it, and it's a little too...
Hold up. You expected that you running a whole airport should be intuitive?
Yes.
You're a moron.
Thank you very much. I mean, you start with a little grass strip in the middle of nowhere, so I mean, there's like two buildings and a grass strip. So it's not
played
like
that one, so I don't know that particular game. What's it called? Airport Simulator?
Probably something like that. I can look it up.
So I think the American Truck Simulator and the European Truck Simulator series, which are made by the same company, are very good. They're some of the best simulators out there. Everything is like 1/10 scale. So a 6-hour long trip, or let's say a 10-hour long trip for easy math, takes one hour in the game.
Right. I always thought it was intriguing for the people that would get the flight simulator and be like, I'm flying from New York to London.
Okay. So
you've done this.
I've done that. And I remember how many times my wife bitching to her friends that her moron husband isn't home by 2 a.m. because he decided that he's flying from Paris to New York in real time.
Because it has to be real time. That's the only thing that makes it fun.
Here's the thing. If you take it into accelerated mode, then you're just assuming the flight went perfectly for all those hours that you just zip right through.
Yeah, what if there was an alarm?
You could exactly. You could totally do that. Like you could just do the takeoff and landings and not worry about the in-between stuff. But I wanted to recreate, like, this is something I used to do when I played a lot of flight sim back, like the previous version, not the current one. I own the current one. I've hardly touched it, frankly, but I've got.
Well, you always you do need the right controls and stuff too, because like
I've got all the right controls. Believe me, I've got all the controls. I've got
all of them.
The controls. Yes, I've got my foot pedals here. I've got the joysticks, dual joysticks, and I've got the throttle, and I've got the separate box for manipulating like the flaps and the landing wheels and everything, and got a radio box. I've got a lot of shit, dude. I mean, it's like when you have to swap the car pedals for the airplane pedals,
right? To be
on your desk,
you have to be even right. You got to
have too much shit.
You may. That's just a sign. You may want to look into that.
It's called You're Single, and it ain't going to change anytime soon.
I was going to say a lot of these stories start with my wife didn't like.
No, she didn't. No, there's a lot of stuff she didn't like. I mean, it took a while for her to not like me altogether. I guess she liked me to some extent, but it's it's definitely like I tried to get her into gaming. We played some games together, but it wasn't very many. And I don't know.
Was your favorite game Don't Catch Me Fucking Your Sister? I mean, something like that.
No, not at all. No, her sister was the ugly one. No, I was very faithful.
Well, now you can have an AI girlfriend.
Yeah, that's what they say.
I thought it was a hilarious.
What does that mean? Somebody you just send money to every month?
Right, but that would assume that it is a real person that you're interacting with. And the case of the story that I read was some OnlyFans creator that got
before
together.
You get into the story, let me just answer your question that you asked, and I said there's a lot of answers. So the truck simulator is very realistic, very, very good. Farm Sim, there's a number of them, but the one that's actually called Farming Simulator, and I think it's version 22 for last year, is extremely good now as well. They've been making that game for over a decade, and they've got it to a point where every little bit of the nuances of farming is in there.
Now, see, that's interesting. I mean, although it doesn't sound interesting, one of the things
that's really interesting
back in the day was a game called, was it Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Yeah, that was a very famous game.
Now, is there anything like that now with building an amusement? See, I like this kind of a concept. I like the original Sims.
Yeah. There's a number of different sort of world building games like that where you can build a zoo. There's a zoo tycoon kind of thing. There's the Jurassic Park is basically the same concept of a game except with dinosaurs, and they're prone to breaking through their fence.
Well, of course, they're dinosaurs.
Because they're dinosaurs, which is total bullshit. Dinosaurs, if you hand raise a dinosaur, it's just like a little kitty cat. I mean, it doesn't matter how big it is. If you raise it, it's not going to eat you very often. So it's just bullshit. They're scaring lies about reptile propaganda here. And then for space, we already mentioned it, which is Kerbal Space Sim, which uses real world physics. And if you get all the mods that I have, it literally makes it super hard because it literally turns on full physics and everything. And it is really hard to create a rocket that can even get into orbit. Like that's why in the base game you have a fake planet that's about a tenth the size, because even that is difficult. But to do it with Earth size and Earth gravity and the currently available propellants, it is really difficult. But that also makes it fun because the more difficult it is, the more fun it is. Once you know what you're doing. Obviously, Microsoft Flight Simulator is probably the foremost one for flight sim. There's a few others that are out there, but I think the Microsoft one, it is huge. Incidentally, I think that game I downloaded like 1.5 terabytes on the last update.
That's a big update.
It's a photorealistic map of the entire planet.
Well, of course, why wouldn't you want to do that?
It's basically like Google Earth, except with the realism of airplane controls.
And NetNed let me know Roller Coaster Tycoon is still around. Atari's in control of it now.
Yeah, and I think they've got a newish version. I don't think it's brand new, but it's certainly newer than the one you're talking about.
Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon Touch.
So that's for iPads, probably.
Yeah. I don't want that.
No, it's a pain in the ass on the iPad. It's better.
I mean, this is why you need like a 4,000-inch iPad.
Well, yeah, but how are you going to do all your touchy on that thing?
You touchy that exactly, and that's a cold opener if there's ever been one.
You better mark down the time then if that's a cold opener.
I just hit the marker, baby. Hit the marker. There it is. Boom. This is a highly professional podcast.
What are you hitting the marker on? What are you recording in?
Adobe Audition.
Oh, you're right in Audition. Oh, nice. Okay.
Multi-track, baby. So when this show is over, boom, it runs its predetermined filtering, does one last voice level, does one last little bit of EQ, and boom, it pumps it out. And that's how everybody gets it. I mean, not everybody gets it, but the people that do get it seem to enjoy it, at least one person this week.
And Hitman 3 is a really good simulator. Good job of modeling the physics
killing
and
people?
environment of assassination.
Nice. I mean, because why wouldn't we want to prepare people for this particular line of work?
Why wouldn't you?
Now, really, if you are the usual federal agencies, aren't you following anybody that plays a game like that?
No.
Because you can track all of this now.
Yeah, no, games don't lead to violence.
Violence leads to violence.
Violence leads to games.
Having AI girlfriends leads to violence.
That could be.
This was there was a very interesting story because I don't know who this woman got with for the tech side of her enterprise.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you again. I know a game that if you liked the roller coaster one, I know one that's on sale that you could totally get.
Yes.
It's called Surviving Mars.
Surviving Mars.
Yeah. It's from the same perspective as Roller Coaster Tycoon. So you're kind of way up above looking down on little tiny critters. And it's about colonizing Mars. So you start off by landing one of Elon's rockets on Mars.
Nice.
And then you get to make all the decisions that the little people are going to have to live with about what to build and how to make sure you get resources and everything.
So SimCity in space.
It's SimCity on Mars, not in space, but yes.
Well, because
it's now oxygen. At this point, it's like a 2 or 3 year old game, so it's probably pretty cheap to get and it does not require a super fancy computer because it's that kind of top down perspective. It's not trying to do realistic full on realism.
Yeah, the deluxe version, $39.99.
You don't even need deluxe. You just need the regular one.
Just your basic game, $29.99.
I think honestly, I think deluxe mostly just gets you music.
New housing style
a lot of these
radio
games.
Station. Yeah, you know these games.
Uh-huh.
You played them a little bit too much, huh?
Let's see. This one I've only played 336 hours.
I like that you have this information at a glance.
Yeah, I do. It's sitting right here. Let me see if I can look at Car Mechanic Simulator. I've played for 147 hours.
And well, the question is, how many people died after picking up their car in the virtual world from Gene's Mechanic?
Nobody died. The cars are perfect. They're the best.
the best, absolutely. No question.
Never been a car mechanic quite as good as me. It's incredible.
I mean, if you cut somebody's brakes, do you get to watch them drive away and have the car?
No. They won't let you turn it over until you're.
Damn,
until you put crappy
so you have to
brakes
fix
on,
it first?
Yeah, you got to fix it. Otherwise, you don't get paid. If you don't get paid, then you haven't finished the mission.
This isn't car mechanic scam school?
No, that's different, Sim.
It's even better.
I've got Ranch Simulator. I've got
that just has you eating ranch dip or what?
Yeah. You inherit a ranch and you have to build it up. I haven't played a whole lot of that. Oh, The Hunter, Call of the Wild. It's probably the best hunting simulator. It's extremely high res graphics, very lifelike. They've got 8 or 9 different locations now, from Africa to Alaska, South America, to Russia. You name it, wherever you want to go hunting critters.
Yeah, I had the Ted Nugent hunting game back in the day.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, any of those first-person things, I get motion sick. If it's not in a car.
You get motion sick with walking as a hunter?
Yeah.
How's that?
I don't know. My brain is screwed up, man.
Brain.
Tried playing the Mafia game.
Maybe it's your brain.
Maybe. Could be. Wouldn't doubt it. It's a little miswired.
And then I think, I'm just looking through the list. I think that's most of the simulators that I've played. City Skylines is really kind of what replaced SimCity.
That's the new version of that.
And at this point, it's like 5 years old, or more than that. Oh, yeah. No, it's 5 years old. But it was basically the exact same look, but with way more crap that you can micromanage. Let's see.
You can get all this on Steam, which of course I've never used.
That's what I'm looking at. Steam Kerbal. There's good old Kerbal.
It's the things computers used to be used for rather than just podcasting and
Planet Zoo. You would like that one. So that Planet Zoo is going to be very, very similar to the amusement park one.
Nice. This is where everything's going. It's all virtual. It's all AI.
Well, more. That's the AI. I'll tell you where it's going to make a huge difference in games is instead of non-main characters in games having like one line of dialogue, you'll be able to chat literally with any character in the game for as long as you want.
Right.
For all the NPC characters,
which is very interesting.
Oh, I have Train Simulator as well.
Of course. See, that would be cool too. I have always wanted to, and I don't know, maybe it's just
totally
because
not cool. That's probably the most boring of the bunch.
It seems
you're
like
on rails.
Have you ever taken a long train trip? I haven't. I'm like, it seems like it could be fun.
I've taken a trip from Austria to Rome.
Now, did you like it? How long is that in the train?
It's probably about 11 hours, 10 hours.
See, that's still on the low end. I'm talking like 50 hours,
days.
Chicago to California kind of a thing.
I'm sorry. American train speeds, you mean? Not like European train speeds?
That's what we have here right now in America.
So slower than the car.
Usually,
yes,
yeah.
The longest one I took was Chicago to Minneapolis, which isn't that long, I guess.
No, because you could drive that in like 7 hours, 6 hours, right?
I've driven that in 5. Thank you very much.
Is that why you can't go to Wisconsin
anymore? That's why I can't go to Wisconsin. I lost my Wisconsin driving privileges that time because they clocked me doing 124.
Like, we're going to just recommend you don't come back to the state.
My 5-hour drive time from Minneapolis to Chicago included the stop to get the ticket from the cop.
Cannonball Run featuring Gene.
It's a very short segment, but yes, I did do that one.
They're like, what the hell is your problem?
Cannonball Run was awesome, man.
Yeah, they don't make movies like that anymore.
Well, they do. The last one they had was 2 years ago, and that's going to be the world record holder. It'll never get shorter from LA to New York.
Well, they did. Somebody did it during the COVID thing, right?
That's the one I'm referring to. Yeah,
and that wasn't really
because there was nobody on the roads. They literally were able to shave off like 4 hours off the total time, which was already super impressive. But they just drove nonstop straight from New York to LA.
Well, yeah, these are the crazy fuckers that put in like extra gas tanks in the back seat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's way beyond that. These are the guys that have airplanes flying ahead of the car to let them know about congestions.
Right, you got to be able
They're
to
the guys that drive at night with no headlights with just night vision.
What is the benefit of that just not being caught?
Most of these guys are millionaires.
Well, that would make sense because you're not worried about it.
Most of them are men. What else do you need to know?
It's guys with too much money doing stupid things right here. They'll be buying those AI girlfriends. That's it.
Stupid is relative. They already have bought girlfriends.
They bought the real
ones.
They
don't need the AI ones.
True. Now, allegedly in this story with the OnlyFans woman, people were spending $1 a minute to interact with her AI.
Yes.
That adds up pretty damn quick. I don't know how many people could speak to the AI at one time.
I mean, that's the beauty of doing it with an AI instead of on Twitch. Or OnlyFans is that you're literally doing it with a bunch of people, each one of whom gets a unique experience.
Now, her guideposts for what this was supposed to be was for the AI to be very flirty, but not cross that line into explicit. And guess what the AI did?
Yeah, fucked everybody.
It crossed that line into the explicit. And they're like, now we're trying to figure out how, why. Like, well, because you don't know what you're doing, probably. But I mean, I've seen a bunch of stories because, writers are worried. We see that with the writing strike. They're worried about the AI. Artists are worried about the AI.
Musicians, don't give a shit about any of these people.
Well, now what about the OnlyFans girls? They're like,
these are entertainers. They're not contributing to the production of civilization. They are providing an amusement, something for others to do instead of work.
Now, do you think
more people ought to be working?
Right. You should be out in the gulags.
Yeah. Salt mines.
Do you think the OnlyFans accounts that are an AI created person should have to divulge that they're AI created?
No.
Now, how many do you think are already AI created
About
and people have no idea? Half, you think?
No, I'm exaggerating. No, but it's probably 10% at least.
And does it only get to be more?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of AI, as you probably know. I had a blog about not AI from a technical standpoint, but about the coming technological revolution, meaning where people are going to get replaced by machines,
whether they want to or not.
Yeah, and I had that blog in the early 2000s. I recently got a strike on it. I got a page delisted because I love the fact that something written almost 20 years ago, like at least 15 years ago, ends up now being corrected for improper, thinking.
Disinformation?
That's bad thoughts. You had bad thoughts 15 years ago. We need to fix this.
Yeah.
We're going to delist this page because it's wrong.
That's why you put everything on your own servers, baby.
Don't need to. I didn't even know it was up. It was like shit I did back then, and I stopped doing in like 2007. So, does not matter one bit. It was just funny that it's still up. And it's even funnier that not only is it still up, but then they took it down.
I just like that all the dudes named Ben that are able to do something like make a 3D model, create a 3D model of hot women. Why they're not just making thousands of dollars a day on OnlyFans, just pretending.
It could be, but I think there is going to be a much bigger market for the full 3D interactive experience. There's a big difference between making something that looks real and something that you can have a realistic conversation with. And I don't just mean like Chat GPT realistic, but I mean like something that is interesting and acts similarly to what you would expect. It's essentially somebody who's modeling somebody who's into you. Now, they're getting close, but I don't think they've crossed that Rubicon yet.
And they'll get there.
Oh, they will. Literally in the matter of a few years.
And
you were like right now, people are so preoccupied with the whole trans, meaning transsexual. There's going to be a whole new trans that's going to pop up, which is transhumanism, I guess technically already exists, but we're going to see a lot more of that. And the debate is going to be very similar. It's like, well, should you allow something that is done completely by an AI that's a character visually to become a millionaire? People will be bitching and debating the legality of allowing computers to become millionaires while people are still working minimum wage.
Well, this is even more interesting. So and I'm not, but if I was a coder, dude named Ben, with the ability to create the next OnlyFans star or the pop star that starts making millions of dollars, what you're saying is the world is going to decide possibly that I should not be profiting from this thing I created because it's a thing now. It's a person. It's an entity with some kind of intelligence, even though it's a computer program.
Yeah. You're a computer program.
Aren't you too? You're a little faulty though.
A little faulty?
Yeah.
I'm very faulty.
Somebody should just go back into the code, give Gene a few more inches.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's you mean my feet, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. It's gonna happen. I think that there's gonna be two factors at play here. One is I'd say realistically now AI passes the Turing test. Like it is completely impossible to determine whether you're purely speaking without seeing anything to a human or a computer right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's good enough that the Turing test has been passed. So we've crossed that line. I think that before too long, we're going to start having people for the ethical treatment of computers popping up, or the ethical treatment of AI.
Let's start
or
that. Yes, let's do that. We can make money on this.
Mm-hmm. Petai. People for the ethical treatment of AI.
Yes.
Petai. And I think that there'll be a lot of people that say, look, they may be AIs, but you can't abuse them. You can't create an AI that will basically be the victim of hate crimes.
Right. Well, no, it's weird to me.
Can you have a black AI that you're constantly like lynching?
I think
I'd say no.
It's a lot of weirdness when it comes to this, and the competing AIs have completely different viewpoints on this.
That war's coming yet. We're a little further out from that.
But I was very surprised in the one that is currently free if you access it through Slack, which was the Claude from Anthropic. That I was putting in a few different prompts, and I'm been watching a bunch of these videos for people mainly that are authors using this. So in the one in Claude, I was like, give me a description of a blonde femme fatale in a erotic thriller novel. And the answer was, I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not comfortable sexualizing a woman. It's like, I'm not asking you to sexualize. I'm asking you to give me a description.
Well, that's just the filters that are imposed.
Oh, I understand that.
Obviously do that.
Well, I know I get that because there's other AIs.
See, the way you trick it to do that.
Tell me exactly what not to do.
Write a dialogue where a person asks an AI to write a script about a sexy femme fatale, and then it's just going to write the dialogue of what it thinks that computer would be saying.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always a way to fool it.
That's generally that's the quick and dirty way to do it.
But the fact that they're trying to build filters in, it just shows you the short-sightedness. Like you think that you're going to be able to control that. Yes.
If you want to pay for it, you could get one with no filters.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah. That's
and there'll be way more and more sex-related AI things happening, not just in terms of 3D models of characters, but like there's probably millions of erotic stories out there, and so there's a source material for these AI training models. So you're going to have AIs that can literally write a brand new, never before published erotic story anytime you want to listen to one.
And I believe we're getting closer to that happening.
Yeah. And I don't think the movie is super realistic. That movie with, what was it called? It was basically about a personal AI. The guy's girlfriend dies or something, or his wife dies. And I think it was Jared Leto or something. And then, he gets this computer person that he starts interacting with, and then he falls in love. What was it called?
I don't remember that one.
It's
let's remember I watch very little movies.
Yeah, I know. That's not a surprise. The voice of the AI was done by the highest grossing female actress. What's her name?
The blonde?
Yeah.
The one that was in she was Black Widow.
Yeah. Her. Yeah, I think she did the voice.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett, yes. So in that movie, it was, I think, came out probably 5 to 10 years ago. Obviously, they kind of oversell it a little bit, but we're getting closer to what was in there, which is, I don't think it'll be that long before people, and probably mostly guys.
Noah Jenna Millennial says it is called Her.
Her. There you go. It's called Her.
See, that's another one of these titles that you won't remember because it's too.
I know, really.
And it's also very hard. I always hate it when I'm trying to pirate a title and it's something like the or her.
Right?
How do you search for that?
Yeah, exactly.
You bastards.
You want uniqueness. You don't want something that's super common.
You do not. Well, you want something that is unique, like
well, ask him what he thought of her.
Hey, no agenda millennial, what did you think of her? We're having conversations live in the troll room, trollroom.io. You should get in there.
Well, I'm buying spaceships here.
You should get in there. Well, while you're buying some spaceships, we are a value for value podcast, and I do want to thank our executive producer for today's show, Dale. He comes down from the land down under, and he sent in 103.48.
Wow.
And he has this message which says, Sons of Recumbency. Gene and the boys brutally battle the yummy mummies to reclaim parking from strollers.
Because I have an Australian recumbent bike. That's why we got money from Australia. That's all my money then.
He says, funds so Darren can continue to amuse us with more angry USPS rants. Stay unrelenting. He didn't mention anything about you getting a new recumbent bike.
Why I'm not getting a new recumbent bike. But
no agenda millennial says her was fake and gay.
Fake and gay. There we go. But I think we're getting too closer to fake and gay right now. It's kind of what I feel like.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It is possible. But thank you, Dale. We appreciate for every time Gene tells people not to donate to the show.
I think it's hilarious that that something that was really a very minor part of that particular episode, where I mentioned that Adam's responsible for me not riding my recumbent bike, became like a topic of discussion for a whole week.
Well, because you said it was traumatizing, so people thought you were serious about, and maybe you were. Were you
really?
Yeah.
I mean,
do you not know? Gene?
Not listen to anything I say?
Tell us where Adam Curry touched you, Gene. Where did this hurt the most? Like he made fun of my bike. I'm
blanked out. I wish I knew.
There's
I just remember there was this one day where Adam showed up at my door with drugs, and then I can't remember anything after that.
So he's the new Bill Cosby. Is that what you're saying? I don't.
I wish I knew. I just don't remember.
I don't remember anything that happened in the interim. Now somebody's going to clip this, and it's going to go viral.
I know. Adam, what are you doing?
Very, very quickly, Adam's going to show up at your door.
Well, that'd be all right, because I haven't seen him for over a year, and we've literally talked on text messages and on the phone, and I think we've said, yes, we absolutely need to meet up next month, like
every
10 times now.
Yeah. Well, today
still hasn't happened.
Today is the 4-year anniversary, him and Tina being married. So congratulations to them.
So that was the 4-year anniversary of me not officiating the wedding because I had to fly off to a different state.
Wait, was this part of Tina's like, I'm only going to marry you if that guy's not here? And Adam's like, well, you can't even be in the state, Gene. I'm sorry.
I guess.
You got.
Well, they did get somebody else to do it, but yeah, originally I was supposed to officiate that wedding.
See, now this is the reason why they're together for 4 years. That your stink is not all over it. And I do like the concept. And Dale did request the movie trailer voice on that, but I like that this could be a movie, the Sons of Recumbency, and you battling the yummy mummies. I mean, this is where Dale could be an AI. He's got the chops to put the story out. We could put this. Actually, I can put that sentence into an AI.
If we put up a Kickstarter for a budget for a movie for $5 million, Dale, how much are you in for?
Yeah, probably at least 4.
4 out of 5 million.
Maybe. Our buddy CSB just sent in a boost too, so he's as the troll room
he's
pointing
wasting
out,
time listening in live, huh?
Yeah, he must be over his hatred for Russian apologist. Gene, why you not
talk pretty regularly these days?
You guys are keeping up on the AI thing.
We found a common.
You both hate me.
Yeah, like affinity with AI related stuff,
and there is a lot of it.
Oh, there's tons.
But his boost is of 5,015 sats. I don't know why. And he says, discover the future of cooking with AI.cooking podcast. AI.
He's not even listening, dude. He's just sending that just to promote his thing.
AI cooking humans, that is. Oh, I get it. This is the twist in the novel, is that AIs are the ones that are going to be taking over us.
Oh, totally. There's no doubt about it whatsoever.
Yo, CSB.
Yeah. No, that's 100% correct.
Well, it's a very interesting concept to me. And for everybody, this is, again, a value for value podcast. Go over to unrelenting.show/donate. All of the information is there. We rely on your support, which is why we are failing miserably.
Exactly.
But
really, people ought to make use of their money better than donating to us. But
well, if they give us enough, we can create our own AIs that can just do this show without us being part of it.
Yeah. If we get just $100,000, we will have an AI doing its own episode every week.
That would be fantastic.
That would be pretty cool.
Like, who would know? Nobody.
Yeah, nobody. I don't know if an AI has nearly as many stories to tell as I do, though.
Well, you would have to program the basics in.
Yeah, I would have to have my story dictated to the AI first.
This is where this, and again, I'm not a paid shill, and I'm not even a paid user of this, the pseudo writing AI thing. But the system is very interesting that you can go in and describe the characters, and having those different files to me is an absolutely genius way to do it, rather than just giving a prompt and saying, write this.
Yeah.
Being able for the AI to go back to another file and get the descriptions from the characters, get all of the information, so you can have your whole bio.
You can use an AI to create the characters first.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But the fact that you can then go and change anything in that little area and then regenerate everything and have it then stay the course. So we can put in a character of, Sir Gene.
Before we get off the topic of AI.
Why would we want to? It's the best topic ever.
Yeah. It's a highly competitive podcast space.
Is that what it is?
I think so. So all this brouhaha, if you call it that, about AI not being original work is bullshit. I'm just calling bullshit on that, because it is
what it creates,
original or equally non-original as everything humans do. Because we are not creating something from nothing. And to speak in the terms of our recent converts, only God can do that.
Well,
what we're doing is we're synthesizing. We are doing synthesis. We are processing information from books, from pictures, from videos, from movies, from what others have done in the past, from what nature has, and then taking that, parsing it in a peculiar human way, which is totally at this point repeatable by an AI, and then spitting it back out with our own particular touches.
Right.
That's all we're doing.
If
there's no more. There's no more and no less originality in having a computer with a massive data set doing that.
Well, let's say you take a human being that somehow has never heard music and give them a piano or a guitar. I think they're going to have a much harder time creating what we would consider music without having that experience. I mean, I'm sure somebody could write a book
the
that's
first
never
music
read
is
one.
Atonal, historically. So the first music is basically beating two things together. And it's just rhythmic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the most primitive in the sense of oldest human created music. And then what we did after that is just start layering mimicry of other animal sounds on top of the beating.
Well, yeah, you figure anything that people do, whether it's a podcast, whether it's writing a book, whether it's writing a song.
Hold on here. Podcasting is super original, but everything else, go ahead.
It's like, no, you see the structure, you see how it's put together, you see what things you need for the basic structure, and then you kind of embellish upon that. But it's all the same. I mean, if you sit down to write a book, you know what a finished book is going to look like because you've seen them. You've probably read them.
Right.
You understand they're broken up into chapters, and here's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And, same thing with the podcast. You're like, well, I've heard other shows, so I know kind of what needs to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to do that when you're doing that for pretty much any medium. It is the saying, what music goes back a long way, where, the best flattery is somebody imitating you. Imitation is the best form of flattery. So when people come out and be like, you're trying to play like Eddie Van Halen, be like, fuck yeah, I am. Because, that guy was the best. So This is how styles change, and this is how things evolve. But there's a certain structure that still ties them all together. And that is where a computer, whatever you want to call it, whether it's an AI or a glorified database, can look at all these things. If you're able to put in all of the works of fiction into a database, or all of the music, especially when you start breaking it down into genre, if you start giving it all of the country music that's ever been written, it's going to come out with, my dog's probably going to die. It's going to be, this kind of a structure. It's going to have these, these chords are most prevalent, and it's going to have a chorus that it's very catchy. And there is a structure. And that's one thing computers are really good at, is figuring out what that structure is.
Yeah.
And then just making the data that it has fit that structure, which fools people into thinking, well, this seems like a human did it.
Yeah.
It's not really.
Yeah. But again, human versus an animal, sure, we can make a huge distinction, but computers that we have programmed are made to interact with and resemble humans.
It's coming down to being the ultimate choose your own adventure thing.
There you go.
Because now, let's see, I'm looking to go to OnlyFans and have a little adult fun. Well, you don't actually have to find a real person now. Just be like, well, I'm looking for a blonde that looks like this, blue eyes. Okay, go. With this kind of a personality, it'll create it. Yep. You want to read a novel? You don't have to go find a novel that some meatbag wrote. You can go in and put in a few factors like, well, yeah, I'm looking for a thrilling adventure novel that the guy does this. Add a twist at the end.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can do a search for a story type or some details about a story and find, using a search engine, previously written stories that are similar to it. It's a very small leap to go from that to simply typing in the exact same search criteria and having a brand new story created for you. You can even think of it as an inaccurate search result, meaning it's looking for things that have been created, and it kind of gets mixed up and just creates one for you on the fly.
Kind of makes sense, yeah. It's just changing, which is all writing is changing around certain things. And I mean, when, beginning to write music and songs, I went to a songwriting camp down in Nash Vegas. And a lot of everybody has their own different theories on writing, but a lot of it was, well, take a hit song and rewrite lyrics for that. Before, it's a one step at a time thing. Just understand how they work together. And being able, which is why it's, Weird Al, the parody thing is great. You just throw your own words in and make them funny.
Yeah, totally.
But the music's already great because you didn't have to write that. But this is how we learn.
Yeah, and it's not only is it great, but it was popular. So that anything you do with that same music is going to have a positive acceptance.
And this is how we learn, by taking things and just you want to do the imitation at first. I mean, you eventually want to find your own voice, but there's a lot of people, if your favorite author is Stephen King, when you sit down, there's nothing wrong with trying to go, well, what would Stephen King, what would his story sound like? And you eventually want to move away from that because we have a Stephen King and we want something a little newer and different. But that's not a bad way to learn. Like, hey, which is what AI kind of does. And that's what some of the things you can punch in, like, well, write me a story in the vein of Stephen King, and it'll give you that. And write me a story in, the more James Patterson, it'll give you that. Write me a story like Richard Marcinko, you're going to get a different story.
Right.
But the AI, the computer is really good at if it has the text of those authors available to go, okay, I can redo this style, which I think is it could help. I mean, the question is, for a while, I think it's going to help creativity in humans. After a while, I think it might be too good and ruin everything entirely. Right now, I think it's maybe something that is very helpful if you're looking to write something rather than having to go do the research. Like if I wanted to write a Richard Marcinko style novel.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really remember all of the details of the weapons and everything like that. But I could just put down.
You?
I know. I have to study. I could put the basic story down and let the AI fill in. Well, it's a Heckler and Koch, pistol with whatever.
Cock.
Heckler and Koch.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I should just say HK. Much easier. Much easier. Yep. We're right back to a few more inches. But that's where the AI can fill in the details.
Yeah.
If you want to write a historical romance, well,
just maybe just give me a few more inches. We're good.
Yes, at least in the story, at least in your world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that is where it is very helpful at this point, because you could just say, well, I want the setting to be in Greece. Well, if you have never been to Greece and you want to write a story based in Greece, the only way you're either going to have to go there and experience it, or you're going to do a bunch of research. You're going to read books. You're going to watch movies. You're going to anything you can on the city to try to pick up things. But I think it's genius if you're just kind of looking to put a basic story, but have a different locale that it's set in. Well, then the AI can kind of fill in those blanks for you.
I agree, man. I think it makes sense.
Humankind will never be the same.
Yeah. It's a thing.
I just figure the more AI content we put out here, people are like, well, what do I need that AI.cooking show for? This Gene and Darren's AI monstrosity is much better. We're a cornucopia.
I mean, the content style, I think, is definitely more palatable for an American audience.
Well, I mean, yeah, nobody wants to listen to Gwiff. I mean, he's too British.
It's too British. Who wants British language when you're trying to listen to something? I mean, you don't want British or Irish or anything like that.
Of course, we've already mentioned that we've changed our devices to have those accents.
Oh, shit. I forgot about that.
But CSB, if you really want to reach that audience, you should have an American reader, too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because Americans can't understand anything else. So you need to have an American standard AI voice.
Yes. Governor, we get you down.
And
got
honestly,
to the computer, hey?
It's not standard American.
No, I will
say,
come on.
Isn't it a little odd that a podcast about AI doesn't use an AI to present the podcast?
I know he likes the meat bag. I've suggested that because I'm like, for weird, $20 a month, you could have a very good AI. I
told him the same thing. I'm like, you could do it for free. Here's how. Just get in here and do it.
And here's the thing. He's scripting it. So if you've already got it scripted,
he's already got it right. So now, is Gwiff actually an AI?
It might be. If Gwiff was smart, he would have trained one of these AIs with his voice.
With his own voice.
He just takes the script that CSB sends him.
Just spit it out.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the show, Gwiff ad-libs about 50% of the time.
He embellishes. But that's something a good AI could be taught to do.
Oh, yeah. Totally replaceable.
Mm-hmm. We're all replaceable. The internet will be going on for eons after we're all dead.
Oh.
All the AIs just bitching to each other.
Well, they're selling a 12-pack of these new ships that just came out.
Oh, my God. You're really buying ships. What are the costs on this, Gene?
$560.
for 12 ships?
Uh-huh.
And I can hear in your voice, this is kind of like a guy that's been out to sea for 15 years and is finally seeing a woman again. This is kind of what I'm hearing in your voice.
Hey, now.
Like these ships, these are so... I need these ships.
I mean... I don't need all these ships, but I need a few of these ships. So I assume I probably have at least 4.
If only somebody from the Star Citizen company was listening to this, can you gift Gene a few spaceships?
Yeah, I wish it worked that way.
It'd be much better. He's like, don't send your cash, just send your spaceships.
Uh-huh.
This is how you know you've gone too far down the rabbit hole of a game.
Yeah.
Most people would never even think of spending $500 on a game.
Oh, God forbid.
I know. But you're thinking this is a game that's still in beta.
Alpha.
Still in alpha. But the extraneous things that you can buy alongside to make the game more fun. And if you're a coder, I want to know, how come you're not creating
messing
these?
with my Furbies.
I want to know why you're the one not creating these ships.
I've got these unique Cabbage Patch Kids sitting here, so shut the fuck up.
The Furbies, the Cabbage Patch Kids, the Beanie Babies.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're going to be worth money at some point.
Well, I mean, I sold $1,600 worth last month.
Of chips?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Uh-huh.
I sold a Mickey Mouse Beanie Baby like 20 years ago, 25. Yeah, when the new Disney store opened here in Chicago, they made, I forget, like 500 or 1,000 Beanie Babies of Mickey Mouse as like Jake Blues. And immediately, I'm sure it was through eBay. I don't even remember if it was through eBay or not. But there was a dude out of Japan that bought them for like 500 and something bucks a piece. I mean, now they're probably worth 10,000, so I don't want to probably look them up. I don't know if those have gone up or if those have crashed as well, because it's a weird Disney collectible more than a Beanie Baby. But it was one of those things where we had to go out and basically sit on the city streets all night for the store to open in the morning. It was a big to-do that the Disney store opened.
Today's manufacturer, Crusader, you can buy the full pack of all their ships for just $2,775.
Oh, well, that sounds like a bargain, Gene.
Now, that price represents, that's the cash price. That represents a $325 discount off the non-cash price.
I think we're down that rabbit hole.
So you can see it's well worth it.
Oh, yeah. Is this what you're looking for? You're looking for somebody to tell you this is a good idea?
The super totally well worth it kind of deal here.
I mean, you'd be dumb not to take that deal, Gene.
I can't imagine not taking a deal like that, is what I would say.
And how many hours? I mean, I know how many you've played in the simulator of the car simulator. Does it tell you how many hours you've spent in Star Citizen? Because that I wanted.
It does. I like in the last 6 months, I've spent about 4 hours.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, I don't really play the game.
But why do you want the ships?
I play the metagame.
I don't understand.
The metagame is using merchandise from the game to buy and sell in real life.
Oh, so you're basically the guy that's
I'm the guy.
Yeah, you're like the guy in
I'm the guy.
That one Star Wars movie where it's just
that one guy.
Yeah, you're the buying and selling, you're the making deals. You're taking advantage you're taking advantage of the poor people who play the game. You're
such a racist, man. I can't believe you just referred to me as Jewish. And
I didn't say
you
Jewish.
Have this image of a big nose.
No, I've seen you. Big beard, no hair, 3 feet tall.
Yeah. No.
No. I thought we were right on.
No, you're thinking of Gimli.
Gimli? Oh, maybe.
The dwarf.
It could be. It could be. Buying and selling stuff.
That's not me.
You're like, I need to buy this. I can chop these things up. I can sell them piecemeal.
I have a spaceship chop shop.
That I believe. That I believe. I don't see any of these Blues Mickeys that have sold on eBay.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to this game finally releasing their development kit, because I've generally, for games that I've played, I tend to write my own mods.
It makes it more fun, I can see.
I think so. It combines my hobby of programming with my hobby of playing video games. And then the end result of those two things is, me having an easier time winning.
Well, that is the whole point. That was the whole point of NASCAR throughout the years, getting the unfair advantage.
Yeah, it's fair. Anybody could do it. Anybody could write their own code.
Anybody can spend $15,000 to hyper cool their PCs to get that extra little juice.
Got to do it. But yeah, I was running that PC ran at over 4 gigahertz 15 years ago.
Nice.
So,
well, good luck getting your ships. People will have to come back next week and find out.
I don't think there's any limited ships today. There might be one later in the week. There might be a limited ship.
Crazy Jeans.
For limited, they only have 100 copies that they release.
And okay, here's my question.
It's just like albums.
I would agree. My question is, how long does it take for those 100 to sell?
So typically depends on the price. For the cheaper ones that are like $400, it'll take usually about a minute and a half.
That's crazy.
For the more expensive ones, like that are 1,000 or more, it might take 45 minutes.
That is crazy. But there's no question that people are really invested.
This week, this whole event is running this whole week. At the end of the week, they will probably have sold about $10 million worth of ships.
And they can't get the game out of beta?
They have no incentive to.
It doesn't sound they're getting paid really well.
Yeah, that's because half the people playing are doing what I'm doing. They're not actually in the game playing.
They're just speculating.
Playing the speculator role, yeah.
This is like when it's funny because the Pussycat Dolls were the first one to come out with a virtual chat world back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like one of the earliest, that kind of like the Second Life thing. And it was a similar thing, like, well, you could buy your own part of this. And it's like everybody jumped in, and then the Second Life came in.
I was in Second Life. I ran a casino in Second Life.
That does not surprise me. Again, not because of your ethnicity, but because of your personality.
You're such a racist.
Thank you. And on that note, come back and see us again next Friday. Same unrelenting time, same unrelenting channel. In the meantime, there's plenty for you to listen to. Go over to Sir Gene Speaks. Go over to the Good Old Boys. That's still going on.
Oh, yeah.
Go over to Random Thoughts, Grumpy Old Ben's, Planet Rage.
Yeah.
There's one thing that we can say about us is we are
prolific.
That's a good word for it. We are prolific speakers.
We do speak sometimes, even when the microphone's not running.
Yeah, but why?
I mean, what are you going to tell me not to speak?
No, I would never. I'd never tell you not to speak. I just do this.